I have to say that I am the recipient of a lot of affection and love. I was very scared of government. I would never go to CBSE, but Sanyam ji ke saath, I am constantly there, and Jyoti ma'am was the one who led me. And now we work very closely with all colleagues in CBSE. Many of the regional officers have been very kind and supported IC3 regional forums. And our mission remains counseling in every school, purpose for every child. And I will really share how and why that is important for us as principals and school leaders. But before that, Dr. Sayam Bharadwaj.
Thank you, Ganesh. Good morning, everyone. I'll not be so polite as the Ganesh was. He's saving the energy, I'm spending the energy. No, first of all, though there is a possibility that I might have met you after the declaration of result 2024 result. But before I start, I will once again like to convey my sincere thanks to you for conducting a very good examination. If examination is not conducted in a good manner, believe me, neither you nor me nor anyone from our family, CBSE family, would be having the same kind of respect which we are getting now. And believe me, I live for the uh, self confidence only and for the means के कौन कितना हमको चाहता है और हम किस तरीके से काम करते हैं, that is my perspective. What had happened for doing each and everything, because we are in so many activities every day, that our mind, which is having unlimited memory, that is also sometimes seems full only. So when Mr. Ganesh came to my office and he informed me that no, we would be having the IC3 in Delhi this time, I thought, why most of the people from the CBSE family is not over here for the purpose of counseling, for the purpose of learning the tricks how to live the life in this difficult time. The another issue was that we are having the capacity building department, a lot of trainings are being provided, but sometime if some professional is giving some training, though there also professionals are giving training, but this the participation in IC3, attending all the sessions over here would be really a nice thing for each and every one of you. This would be really a class for all of us. We would be able to learn a lot of things, not only from the counseling perspective or point of view, but from the other point of view also. Because we would be meeting to nearly 1,999 people. 2,000 people are probably participating in this event. So considering I am the 2001 participant, so 1999 would be the other participant to whom I would be meeting and learning something. Say from the 50% of the people, if I was able to learn, so that would be a great learning, and learning without stress also, because you would be roaming in a place which is the vision of our Prime Minister. We feel proud when we are under this roof, under the vision of the Prime Minister. I'll not take much of time, but request you once again that all the regional officers are over here, most of the city coordinators are over here. We would be having two separate sessions, one meeting with my regional officers today, with the thought that we will be planning and discussing certain issues for the 2025 examination, and with the city coordinators that and how best and what best they can do when we are doing a lot of activities across the year for the conduct of examination for other point of view also. I will request you once again, kindly listen to Mr. Ganesh Kohli. He's a fantastic man. what he's doing would certainly do something, means will help you in changing of your life. I'll give you one instance for which I would say that counseling is very, very important. And say in Indian mythology, हम हनुमान जी के लिए है भी कि उनको कहा गया कि आप ये सब कर सकते हो, उड़कर जा सकते हो इतनी दूर, तो वो उड़कर चले गए. But one thing which had happened in my life, I will explain you, I will narrate you. I was a little boy, probably studying in KG or first, where I was born. All the houses were very closely related to each and everyone. There were one lady जो कुट्टी काटने की मशीन होती है, वो उनका वो काम होता था. तो everyone was given the name, means हम उनको कुट्टी वाली ताई जी कहते थे, छोटे छोटे बच्चे. So her daughter got married, and after 2 3 days she came to my house, and she discussed something with my mother. And what I heard, she said to my mother कि दया जो है, उनकी बेटी का नाम था, वो वापस आ गई. तो उन्होंने कहा क्यों, क्या हुआ? कि बोले नहीं, ये तो 2 3 दिन में ही कुछ प्रॉब्लम हो रही है. और तो माई मदर सेड टू हर कि बहन जी आप ऐसा कीजिएगा, कल उनको भेज दीजिएगा. एंड इट दैट वाज संडे. तो दोनों को भेजिएगा मेरे पास. उन्होंने दोनों को भेजा. मुझको नहीं पता मेरी मदर ने उनसे क्या बातचीत की. उसके बाद उनसे बातचीत करने के बाद उनको हमारे घर की छत पर भेज दिया. एंड द रिजल्ट इज दैट इवन टुडे बोथ आर टुगेदर. So certainly the part which my mother had played, counseling part, that is very very important. बहुत से टूटुओं को जोड़ देती है, नाराज लोगों को अच्छा दोस्त बना देती है. So you would be having a very energetic session today, and not only this one, the others ones also. I would request you कि तन से, मन से, धन से पार्टिसिपेट करें. मन से पार्टिसिपेट करें, बाकी को छोड़ें, लेकिन बहुत अच्छे तरीके से पार्टिसिपेट करें. एंड देयर आफ्टर फॉलो द सेम आफ्टर द सेशन इज ओवर, आफ्टर द IC3 इज ओवर, थ्रू आउट योर लाइफ. थैंक यू वेरी मच.
Thank you, Sayamji. And welcome to all the friends who've just joined. Before I start, I know you saw this book on my table, but this is Lao Tzu's work. I know many principals are interested in some of this text, but Lao Tzu was the great Chinese master, and his wisdom was captured by a gatekeeper as he was leaving a particular territory. And I'm reading a translation of the 76th verse of Lao Tzu's work. So I will read it for you, and we can all take these words in. The 76th verse says, "A man is born gentle and weak. At his death, he is hard and stiff. All things, including the grass and trees, are soft and pliable in life, dry and brittle in death. Stiffness is thus a companion of death, flexibility a companion of life. An army that cannot yield will be defeated. A tree that cannot bend will crack in the wind. The hard and stiff will be broken. The soft and supple will prevail." And I started teaching engineering mathematics and, became a popular teacher after 10, 11, 12 years of teaching. What I found was I became arrogant. Because I would teach 1,200 people in a large auditorium and nobody would speak for 4 hours. You can imagine how the ego plays its games, right? As a teacher, as an educator. And that's when I began my meditation practice in 2006. And I started to carry a knife in my pocket. Be careful of me. But that's not a physical knife. It's a knife that I use to chop my ego every day. To chop my ego every day and to say, ask myself a fundamental question every morning. What chair am I sitting in today? Am I sitting in a chair called I know, which I figured is a very dangerous chair? Or am I sitting in a chair called I don't know or I want to know? Every time I'm sitting in a chair called I know, I feel very stiff, very arrogant, that same ego comes back. So I remove my knife, I chop it, and I change my chair to I don't know or I want to know. And it's a liberating chair. It's a comfortable chair. You know, our arm positions, our body language changes, everything changes. There's a study on when you feel relaxed, you're a certain way. And I'd really like all of us to just relax and enjoy these 2 days. Try the chairs of I don't know or I want to know out, because I found as an educator that they were incredibly helpful. And they were also liberating. They were extremely liberating. So I wanted to share what we are trying to accomplish and why we are here. Is this functional now? Yeah, go back. Is it not going to flow? Then, okay, I don't want disruption with this or distraction with this. So, no, go back. Yeah, just stay at the first slide. Yeah. So, firstly, counseling is not an act to be performed for students who are going to college. When I was growing up, there was only 2 kinds of counseling. Bachcha theek se behave nahi kar raha. If somebody is not behaving well, send him to a counselor. It is social emotional counseling, as we call it. And ma'am, if you, just so that you know, all sessions in this conference, there are 48 breakout sessions. They're all recorded and they'll be on YouTube. So you don't have to worry about anything, recording, etc. You'll get all the recording. You will not be able to attend 48 sessions. You'll only attend 5 or 6. But the remaining will be all available to you. So, really, where was I? I lost my point. The definition of counseling for a lot of people when I was growing up was social emotional counseling. And you know, I was an outstanding student in school, always standing outside the class. And what happened was, I always met my principal. She passed through the corridors. You know, when we passed the principal's office, the door used to be like this, and we look inside and we jump like that, so that the principal doesn't see you cross. In my time, principal was the chief jailer. And all the teachers were sub-jailers. And I was the prisoner. And my favorite person was the peon who used to come to ring the bell. How many of you enjoyed this time in school? And ye bhi yaad hai, barish agar ho jaye, if it rains, holiday, wonderful. And if somebody died, also holiday. So they did not grieve in school when someone died. You check with most children. I figured all the senior principals of the country, they said, sir, jab koi marta tha, hum khush hote the. Hame chutti milti thi. This is really what happened with schooling. The same kid who got bored in school got bored in life. The same kid who is talking about work-life balance said academics and fun are separate things. They're not talking about personal life and professional life balance. They're talking about work-life balance, where work is the punishment, life is the reward. Monday to Friday is the punishment, Saturday, Sunday is the reward. This is the same kid who did not have context in school, who did not have counseling. He had math teaching. He had English teaching, he had a sports day, he had an annual day, he had a daily assembly, but he did not know why he was doing what he was doing. Where that quadratic equation is going to be used. Where is that English going to come in handy in his life? That student lacked context. Counseling, career and college counseling. So the original version of counseling was social emotional counseling. Then there was a period in our history in India, counseling was for the rich kid going abroad. यहां पे अप्लाई करने की क्या जरूरत है? जो जा रहा है बाहर उसको उसके लिए काउंसलिंग है. Counseling is about international universities. Hello. Krishna was a counselor as well. So was Christ. So was the prophet. The fact is that we thought counseling was an action or an act to be performed by the privileged few when the student comes to 12th grade. But counseling really has to be a culture that needs to permeate every classroom in school, every activity in school. Every teacher in school needs to be a counselor, and every principal has to be the chief counselor. Counseling for us is not about finding a college or finding a career. It is about finding purpose. Not finding life purpose, but finding purpose in everyday life. Finding purpose in your assembly. Finding purpose in your sports day. Finding purpose in your annual day. Finding purpose in the geography class. When every teacher and every educator starts to answer 3 questions consistently, we don't need to change the syllabus of CBSE. We don't need to change the period from 40 minutes to 45 minutes. We don't need to hire expensive staff to have counseling in our school. Just because it doesn't show up on the grade sheet doesn't mean it's not important. It will actually take the grades of every subject up. All we need to do is inject a pedagogy or an approach where we encourage teachers to consistently answer 3 questions in the classroom. Who will use what I'm teaching? Where will it be used? And how will it be used? And if that goes well, then tell me where is it right now. Show it to me here. The best place to teach geometry, about parabolas, to teach algebra is the football field. If your math teacher really gets it, then what is fun, which is football, would be the best tool to teach math. If we really start to get it, I will not look for a computer game or Instagram or social media or a distraction. I am going to mitigate issues of attention span, which have, by the way, fallen from 4 hours to 40 seconds. I am still in shock that for the last 5 minutes, most of you haven't picked up your phone and checked WhatsApp. You're already crossed the barrier of human presence. Because attention spans have literally fallen down to 40 seconds. And so counseling mitigates attention span issues. It impacts learning outcomes profoundly. It mitigates mental health well-being issues. And if you got the counseling ecosystem right, it will eliminate dummy schools and all those third parties. The problem is this kid never really had systemic guidance. We are not talking about at some point. That is when guidance becomes systemic. And that is really what career and college counseling is. It is a central function in school. It is a function that belongs to every teacher and every educator. And it is a function that profoundly alters the way teachers teach, principals engage, the community engages, parents engage. I don't want to name the school, but I had one CBSE school principal tell me, "Sir, I'm half the time in school and half the time in court." मैंने बोला, "क्या हुआ sir?" बोला सर 32 कोर्ट केस है मेरे स्कूल पे। मैं कहा किसने फाइल किया? बोला 31 आर फाइल्ड बाय पेरेंट्स। मैंने कहा इमेजिन व्हाट इज द स्टेट ऑफ अफेयर्स। बोथ द एजुकेटर एंड द पेरेंट wants the well-being of this child and they are in conflict. कुछ भी हो जाए स्कूल में, आप सब शहरों में नहीं होता क्योंकि अभी तक we've got compliance in some places, but it's an increasingly evolving environment. But it is so crucial to involve every stakeholder. So the counseling laboratory pedagogy that you will discover through this conference and the approach that you would look at with counseling, it actually would actually bring into focus how you can change the ecosystem in school, how you can get kids to come more engaged and more looking forward to attending school every day. And eventually you will turn every subject into a skill, not into a score. The score will be important, but the score will be a byproduct of it becoming a skill. When an academic subject becomes a skill, that's when our children are truly prepared to succeed in the world. And that is really what counseling does. And I wanted to share and leave you with a few slides. You have to forgive me for some of this. So we do a lot of research at IC3, but I want you to just know that a student never loves or hates a subject. We've done, I mean, I shouldn't say never, but in most cases, a student would not love or hate a subject. The student would love or hate the teacher. If the student loves the teacher, I was a hopeless boy. I failed in Hindi in 5th grade and my mother was a Hindi teacher. God bless me, पूरा मोहल्ला जमा हो गया, बीच में मुझे बिठाया. सॉरी वो जो शब्द निकले थे मैं बता नहीं सकता, बट मुझे बचपन से गालियां वहीं से शुरू हुई मेरी. कि how can this shameless boy, and I had two older sisters, 7 and 11 years. I said, and by the way, one of the themes of this conference is फेलियर एज अ टीचर. देखो क्या हो रहा है. ये आउटस्टैंडिंग स्टूडेंट जो बाहर प्रिंसिपल आए उससे डरता था, आज इतने सारे प्रिंसिपल सुन रहे हैं. देयर इज होप. देयर इज होप. इफ अ होपलेस बॉय कैन कम आउट, देयर इज होप. बट व्हाट इट रियली नीड्स इज teachers and educators to start inspiring. They need to inspire. I don't love math because, I mean, I'm learning the theorem. The math is not changing in school, but the teachers may change. Line drawn from the center of the circle perpendicular to the chord, bisected the chord 30 years back is bisecting the chord today. 30 years from now, it will bisect the chord. Subjects that disagreed with verbs in English are continuing to disagree with verbs. Ren and Martin abhi tak laal hi hai. It's red in color. It is not changing. Nothing is really changing. What is really changing is the way that this teacher approaches. And when every teacher becomes a counselor, consciously and unconsciously, they start connecting the classroom with life. They start connecting. I'm an engineer by education, but also by accident. So the accidental engineer went through the grind of trying to get into IIT. I did not get into IIT, but I went into a Mumbai University College. But really, if I was meant to be an engineer, I would have the ability to lift a bottle of water, hold it, and see the physics, chemistry, and math in it. It would give me joy. I would be able to correlate. I'd be able to see that we are sitting in a physics lab here, there's acoustics at play, there's gravity here, sound waves are entering, getting modulated, transmitted, getting demodulated, light rays are falling at a certain angle, concave, convex lenses. Every school concept in physics can be taught in this room. You can teach everything in economics in this room. Why is this chair not made of gold? Economics of value. Why is this chair not made with heavy metal? Economics of weight. You can teach every concept. You can teach history with this place. You can teach history with a chair. Human beings used to sit on a floor up until a certain point in our history. The history of the chair is linked to the history of the human spine, which is linked to the way human beings think. You can correlate history with biology, with psychology. And by the way, for all those who said science and humanities are two different areas, quantum physics talks about consciousness. Consciousness relates to psychology. Psychology and physics profoundly intersect today. So humanities and science profoundly intersect today. But who is going to give me this context? I'm a seventh grader, eighth grader, ninth grader who basically is told I have to come into class and my teacher is going to deliver a lesson and we're going to all learn something new. But I don't know where that chemistry is in my mother's kitchen. If I can find the chemistry in my mother's kitchen and something that I really love, or the food and nutrition lesson that you teach them in 7th or 8th grade, I can figure out the correlation between that lesson and the pack of Lay's chips, which many of you must already be doing, or the careers around food science and production, etc., then I'm in a completely different reality. It takes a village to raise a child and it takes a village to counsel a child. Counseling is not about advising. It's not about telling people what to do. Counselors are navigators who help facilitate. Every teacher as a counselor is going to inspire an English teacher. So many English teachers I met or Hindi teachers I met, sir, bhasha se kya hoga, koi interest hi nahi dikhata. Nobody is interested in the language because their belief is language is not going to lead to anything. Hello, language is one of the most liberating, one of the most lucrative professions. Have we even looked at the importance and the significance of a language? Language opens the doors to people's hearts. And language has so many different applications. I know this young boy who fell in love with Japanese culture when he was 12 years old, ended up being a phenomenal student of Japanese language, along with English and Hindi. At 26 years of age, he told me he was making 12 lakh, 16 lakh rupees a month, sitting in meetings, translating corporate meetings, government meetings, translating Japanese to Hindi or English and English to Japanese. Which engineer makes 12 or 16 lakh rupees a month at 26 years of age? That I learned a language and I had a life with the language. But he did it out of his love for the language. So I just wanted to, share this with you. I'm actually going to skip some of these slides, but what is this conference about? The whole theme of this conference is from competition to competence. You have seen the suffering of our children. I don't know if you know, but in 2021 we had the unfortunate reality in India where there were more students that committed suicide than farmers. India is the only country in the world where the most significant reason of deaths of adolescents around the world is road accidents. India is the only country where it's suicide. The number one cause of death. This is a significant mental health issue and it's an economic issue as well. And so the idea, this whole idea of competition to competence, and I will talk about it happening now at 10 o'clock when we begin. But you'd really want to dwell into this theme. It's not denying competition. Competition is good. But it can be unhealthy. It can make you sick. Mentally sick, physically sick, in every way. It is about healthy competition, which is really driving us towards competence. What am I good at? And what is it that I resonate with? So the theme of this conference is from competition to competence. Counseling is about helping young people discover their competence. What all of us went through was an environment where we were compared. How many of us were compared when we were little children? You remember being compared with your neighbor, with your sisters, with your brothers. I was with my siblings. We were compared. When this comparison became acute in middle school and high school, competition was born. How many of us knew that we were really competing? When this competition becomes acute in adult life, sometimes violence is born, and that violence is subjecting your own self to that violence. Because I'm not doing things because I want to do it, because the neighbors bought this dress, or the neighbors brought this car, or the neighbors wearing this, I'm going to do it. It's not my own calling. Competition is outside, competence is inside. The model of counseling is marrying the outside with the inside. That we are not going to not look at what's happening outside, but we'll marry it with what's happening inside. And I know that the discovery will be from this exercise. For me, extracurricular and co-curricular activities are ugly words. Extracurricular is nothing but immersive curricular development. Football is the greatest way to teach math for me as a math teacher. Football is also the greatest way to teach geography. I can take a map of the world. There are many, many football playing young children who love football and they are not enjoying their geography class. You can turn it around for them. There is a very simple concept that I learned through my own practice as a counselor and a teacher for 17 years. It's called the wrap around concept. That up until a certain age, so what would each one of us do if we had to study Japanese today? And how does a kid who's born in a Japanese language family learn Japanese? The one who learns Japanese in a Japanese family looks at the expressions, looks at the sounds, etc. They are not going to wrap it around anything. But how are we going to learn it? By wrapping it around English. You will take a Japanese word, you will translate it into English. You'll take another word, you'll translate it into English or Hindi or whatever. And you will wrap around Japanese on English. But how will the kid learn it? He doesn't have any baggage. Most of our children, after the age of 10 or 12, but even after the age of 8, start to wrap around everything to learn something new. So they will have 1 or 2 or 3 languages, and then whatever they do, they'll study physics in that language. They'll need that language to study physics. They'll need some other, but they'll have that period. This whole idea of wrapping around, the wraparound concept is key to counseling. We got to find ways. If the kid loves computer games, loves Instagram, social media can become an attraction instead of a distraction. You can find ways of wrapping around what the kid loves, what you call academics. There's a method to do it. Counseling is both an art and a science, and it requires some professional development, which is what we are focused on. IC3 doesn't happen this week. IC3 happens 365 days a year. We train teachers. I just met somebody from Maheshwari Public School. कहाँ है सर? आपके कितने काउंसलर ट्रेन हुए हैं IC3 इंस्टीट्यूट? Yes. So many, how many CBSE schools here have a counselor that was trained at the IC3 Institute? Oh my God, इतने सारे आपको already. Oh, you are yourself trained at the IC3. The principal is also trained. So you can actually use, this is a subject that needs time to understand, and these are some of the mandates of the new education policy and the national education policy, CBSE mandates. We are talking about, exploratory education, professional development for individuals, but these are all some of the mandates, and this is all in alignment, and Sayamji can share more about this with you, but this is all in alignment. And the pedagogy that we are talking about is what is called the counseling laboratory pedagogy. In the interest of time and to bring us back on schedule, I'm not going to dwell deeply on this, but principals can spend 3 days at a university becoming students and learning about the pedagogy. And it is really running a laboratory, not a physical space, but a culture of exploration, inward exploration and outward exploration. A laboratory to actually create a library, not of information, but of insights. I met a 26-year-old dentist who told me I'm fed up of looking at ugly teeth for 5 years. मैंने कहा किसी ने 11वीं में बता दिया होता मुंह के अंदर देख ले भैया. How do you feel when you look into people's mouth? You know, I love my pet dog doesn't mean I'm going to become a vet. I need to experience what it means to be a vet. So many people are obsessed about becoming doctors. The first dead body comes in medical school. They vomit, they faint, and they leave medical school. Whole childhood is wasted because they were pursuing somebody else's dream. This was what competition did to them. So, the laboratory library pedagogy is something to be learned on how to bring counseling into every school. And it requires, counseling requires collaboration with teachers, parents, students, external educators. It requires investigation and research, and it requires mining of insights. That's how decisions are made in the counseling laboratory pedagogy. We take 1 year or 30 hours or 3 days to teach this to many, many principals. I'm very proud that many of the CBSE principals have also gone through the 1 year program. Thank you, ma'am, for acknowledging that. But, you know, someone like Gunmeet Bindra, ma'am, now the principal of Delhi College in Indore, she has been a 1 year graduate of the IC3 Institute. So many principals who invest their time because they reshape their schools through counseling. And the cost of not having counseling is economic, it's social, it is climate, it's well-being, mental health. There are many different challenges that we end up with. So I'm going to stop. We have about 7 minutes. I'd like to, or 8 minutes, I'd like to invite questions along with Sanyamji. And I did want to say that in these 2 days, we have about 150 people speaking across 48 breakout sessions. There's a mobile app that has all the information. You would have seen this is, we're not ritualistic at IC3. We also do not have any VIP environment. Everybody is a learner. We are all, including all of us, we are all learners at IC3. You will find humility, simplicity, and that's really what this place is about. So I invite you to immerse yourself and go back to being a student. And 48 breakout sessions in 2 days. Of course, there are sessions that you would want to. There are some meetings that are scheduled for you with CBSE and all of that. But I'm amazed someone of the stature of Sanyamji actually has been coming and spending 2 days. Last year he was in Hyderabad. They spent time to learn. That is what makes this so special. That, you know, at his level, I'm just inspired. And I think all our people, you'd be amazed, our keynote speakers and everybody was sitting in rooms and learning and doing exercises, and they're doing worksheets. And this is really what life is about. And so I invite all of us to really rekindle that little kid that within us. We are all in 50, 60-year-old bodies, hopefully some in 30-year-old bodies or 40-year-old bodies, but I'm closing in on 50 myself. But we are really little children who have this spontaneous need to learn, to create, and I welcome you to explore. So MJ, can we take some questions, you know, with your permission? Yes, ma'am.
I just want to know one thing. Can you please go to slide number 2 where you have defined counseling? Yes. So in the first circle itself, you have written it's coaching to build. So coaching is a different concept. It goes hand to hand with counseling. So would you please highlight that the definition that you are giving about counseling, is it same with coaching, or if it is not, how it is different? Thank you.
I think I don't want to get, we're not getting lost in the the verbiage of it. The verbiage is not significant. The idea is, so how do you coach yourself to be self-aware? You actually have mechanisms or methods where you would actually interview people. If you were exploring, I met this girl in Lucknow who said, I want to study law or medicine. She knew everything about law, she knew everything about medicine, but she knew nothing about herself. There's no self-awareness. There are different kinds of skills that are needed. So coaching is not always dependent on someone coming and coaching me. It's an ecosystem that's created where students become self-aware because the teachers and the educators are aware and they are kind of facilitating that. But like I said, I mean, I shared it a little bit earlier. Counseling is not performing 1 hour of counseling, or it's an ongoing, all pervasive activity which really becomes a culture in school. So that's really what we are referring to here. Yeah. No, this is not the use of the word coaching. Please don't. And there is a lot of nightmare and trauma around coaching institutes in CBSE school. तो मैंने तो गलती कर दिया, ये word डाल दिया. आप इसको काउंसलिंग ही पढ़े मैम प्लीज. हम तो हमें कोचिंग वाले धमकी देते हैं कि तुम लोग हमारे स्कूल को वो चंडौली में some in Chandoli one school counselor suddenly started to talk that engineering college coaching enrollment went down. वो हमको फोन आ गया, तुम IC3 में क्या सिखा दो. ऐसे अरे भैया हम जो भी करते हैं, you leave us alone. But the fact is that we are not talking about that coaching. We are talking about, guidance and an ecosystem. Another question I can take? Yes, yes.
I think leading to the context, but then I was really happy with the two aspects which you talked about. First is regarding the competition to competence, and how do we change the perspective, and the second thing is most important with the teachers, you said, who will use what I am teaching in class and wrapping around. There are two contexts again in a country like India, where in competition, though we said I totally agreed, but still the context came moving ahead with pursuing something. So I really liked that we'll have to take the efforts to change the perspective. And the thing is I just wanted to know how do we still drip it down to all the stakeholders. No doubt, as you said, involvement, that is the first thing which we'll have to work. So but then still how do we really make that perspective change in the parents? And second thing, what you said, I totally agree with that, because if it could be done there with the teachers, I just really get from the students wherein they say, why should we learn language, why should we learn so and so subject if I am going to pursue something. So these are my two things okay, which if you could still add into that, what could be that as a principles we could take the step.
Yeah. Those answers will come when you self-equip yourself and all relevant questions, but it's a subject that requires some training, because most people think to teach math you need, or to be able to effectively do a language you need to be trained as a teacher, but to effectively counsel or to be able to support better decision making, you also need to be equipped. So I think that's really a slight longish area, but if you, as a principal, you can spend 3 days in a training program on this subject, you will have a lot of the answers. And the other part of parents are all, I'm told we're out of time, so we'll have to end because we will start and end sessions on time at IC3. I can assure you that we will every session, because we have such a back-to-back slot, so this room will get occupied by someone else, etc. But I just want to finish my comment on parents. Reproduction is a biological process, and there's no university for parenting in India or anywhere in the world. We are all victims of victims, right? Parents are the same blood and breed as we are. When we become principals, we are also parents. But parents' instinct is, think about a parent as, a tigress protecting her cubs. You've seen how a tigress is when they're protecting their cubs? They will not let anybody come near. The parents are really acting out of blind love. They really want to protect their children. So many times their behavior, their decision making is out of blind love, which is a natural way. And it is the only way out of that is to educate them, help them evolve out of that with insights, with knowledge. So we will have plenty of time to interact throughout the next 2 days. I welcome everybody here and thank you very much for joining us. The best way to navigate this venue is the mobile app. There are lots of breakout rooms. The next session where everybody in this venue will be, all the 2,000 people are going to be in the plenary room, which is on the 6th floor. So it's 2 levels up. We are currently on the 4th floor. There are 2 areas in which this conference is happening. The convention center, which is level 3 to level 6. And the other area is the expo, where you did your registration on the right side. You saw there was an expo area. All the food, tea, coffee, etc. is in the expo area. And that area, you will go to, from 12 o'clock, that area will be open. So you will have lunch, etc., all of that available. But you also have lots of governments come in, lots of universities come in, lots of organizations come in. So you would want to spend some time in the expo area as well, not just for your meals, but also to meet people and to connect. But all your sessions that you will attend from level 3, 4, or on level 6, which is the grand ballroom. We will all be walking towards level 6, which is the grand ballroom right now, for the opening plenary session, which will begin promptly at 10 a.m. Sanyamji's last. Thank you very much, everybody. We can step out. There will be a feedback form after every session, which you can submit, and we will see you in the ballroom. Thank you.